and Manga 2.0. Can't even talk right now. I'm Stephanie, admin. Figured I would do a review just like Andrew, so I decided Fairy Tail because that's the most controversial anime in our group right now, and I don't think I like this wind action, so I'm gonna move inside. Now that we're more comfortable, I swear, holy shit, I'm not a slut. I'm gonna go change my shirt. I'm going out. Don't mind my plans. Excuse me a moment. I don't know how anybody does this without a script. I can't even brush my teeth without a script. My life is a script. But anyway, I think it's safe to say everyone knows the plot to Fairy Tail. Basically, Lucy is looking for a guild to join. She's heard all about Fairy Tail, which is like this glamorous guild with Mira Jane on the cover, and it's super great and amazing. Until she joins it and then realizes they're actually a clusterfuck of people who cause a lot of problems in cities. But overall, there's guilds, there's magic, there's different types of guilds, like, you know, there's the council who controls everybody, or at least tries to monitor everybody, like admins. And then there's guilds that are against the law, they're not official. And then there's the guilds that take the time to do bad things. What are they called? Dark guilds or something like that. It's been a while, forgive me, since I've seen the beginning of this anime, or read the beginning of this manga. It's been ongoing for a long time, alright? But anyway, I think that Fairy Tail is a great starter anime. For people who've never watched anime, I think Fairy Tail is good for recommending to your friends who haven't seen anime. I think it's good to recommend it to teens and younger folk. I think it's a great beginner series. I'd like to point out there's nothing wrong with something being a beginner series. I think that it's a perfect way to describe it. It's, for instance, I wouldn't ever recommend something like Shinsekai Yori to a person who's new to anime because it has a lot of intense plots, a lot of themes that maybe a lot of people couldn't get into. Well, Fairy Tail is very easy to get into for most people, which is why it's popular. But I'm missing the entire point of this review, which is it's a review. Let's start. Action. I think it had pretty good action. Maybe not necessarily original for shonen, but most shonen isn't really original when it comes to action. It does have really cool magic though, which again, maybe not unique in premise, but at least there's a variety in Fairy Tail because there's so many characters that we get so many different types of magic. In fact, it was actually the magic that brought my friend Travis into Fairy Tail. He can be pretty picky about what he watches, and he really enjoyed the different aspects of magic, whether it was the way Urza used her re-equip magic, the way that Gray has to use both hands to make a proper structure for ice magic, the way that Natsu can eat fire, the way that Dragon Slayers can like eat the elements and create things with their abilities. It was the different aspects that brought him into it, and I also agree in that sense that was pretty interesting concept. Addressing the art and animation, I'd say it's average, at least in season 1. I think that the art can be really pretty in certain points, while pretty average for shonen overall. I prefer the art itself as opposed to things maybe like One Piece. I preferred it to Naruto in the beginning. Naruto grew over time. The art in the manga is really on point as far as I'm concerned. The ladies are all gorgeous, they all have curves, versus the anime, the girls can be a bit twiggish at times with too big boobs or too small boobs. The anime tends to the manga tends to proportionalize a bit. Speaking of that, fan service. A lot of people don't like fan service, but I will say the anime is listed as ecchi, as is the manga, so I don't know what anybody expected in that. Maybe it consumes a bit of the plot sometimes, but I personally love ecchi. I think it's really fun to watch. And I'm not a guy, so we can't blame that. Maybe I'm a little bit of a pervert, but I think most anime fans are, quite frankly. Perhaps the fan service gets out of hand at points, but I think that brings a comedy sort of perspective to the series, so I really don't mind it. But back to art in general, I could not do season 2. I thought the art was drastically different and a bit ugly, even if the colors stood out more. I really hated the lack of detail that went into the bodies and the eyes, particularly the face. I just couldn't deal with that. So for those who continued on to season 2, good for you. I stuck with the manga at that point. Let's see, dialogue, I think average. It's usually very repetitive in dialogue. There's usually 1,000 friendship speeches, which get my heart racing. Sorry, I know everybody hates the friendship thing, but I think it's great. I'm always just like, Yeah, yeah, you guys are great. I wish I had friendship like that. But I mean, Andrew makes a good point. When you watch things like Rainbow, you get more of a realistic friendship versus Fairy Tale's kind of out there with the friendship. But I love it. I don't care what anyone says. Other than that, let's see. Comedy. I think Fairy Tail actually is really great comedy. I laugh a lot throughout the series. The specials in the anime, or even in the specials in the manga, make me really happy and heart. They're usually very heartwarming or ridiculous. Like there was one chapter that was a special where they played the penalty game. That's what it is. And Mira Jane is in a dominatrix outfit, like fucking Urza up for losing. And then at the end, it was really heartwarming because Kana took Wendy to I don't remember where she took her, but I don't remember. It was heartwarming and beautiful. Screw you guys. Soundtrack, I'd say, was pretty decent. I enjoyed the soundtrack itself to the anime, but the openings and endings were very hit or miss. A lot of my friends really loved the opening and endings. For me, I think I only liked maybe two openings. Visually, I love the openings, but the songs themselves just couldn't care less. Endings were alright. But that you always know certain soundtracks in the actual anime itself, and there's a lot about that I love in Fairy Tail. Some of it kind of sounds like a ripoff of Naruto, but I love it. I don't know. Character development. The only characters I can really think of that actually develop are probably Jalal and Urza, and even then, nobody's really developed within the past maybe 100 chapters, except for not physically, power-wise. Other than that, most of the characters are kind of the same. Even when Lucy becomes more powerful with her cool little new outfits that do who even knows what at this point, her personality hasn't really grown. Natsu's personality is basically the same. Jalal changes in the sense that he goes from batshit crazy bad guy to pretty heartwarming character who really cares about everyone around him. He learns to understand his actions were poor choices and all that. So Jalal had character development, and Urza had character development in the sense that even as an adult, she was very self-conscious. She wore armor constantly because she felt this very strong need to protect herself. She felt weak. She felt useless. She didn't trust people as much as she could. She didn't believe in herself, even though she was the most powerful female in Fairy Tail until we see Mila Jane lose her shit. But at that point, Urza was, and I guess probably still is at this point. And then Urza becomes a great character who, I mean, she's always been a great character, but she grows as a character in the sense that now she's basically a fan service character. She's wearing every type of outfit known to mankind. She's very passionate about herself. She loves herself. She loves those around her, which she always has, but she passionately, openly loves everyone around her. She believes in her strength. She believes in maybe the strength of her friends a little too much sometimes. And she even got to the point where she tried to kiss Jalal, so obviously she's grown to some degree. Speaking of romances, that never goes anywhere. So if you ever expect romance to go anywhere, you're probably going to have to wait till maybe the last 3 chapters, because while there is development, it's very slow. Very, very slow development on the romance, which there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. I'm just, if we're talking about character development in general, kind of none there. Overall, I think Fairy Tail would have been a really fantastic series if it went the way of Rave Master, where the length stopped. We just kind of went, no more, let's get this point done. Well, what's with the filler? Even in the manga, there's just a bunch of filler until Zeref shows up. And we know Zeref is basically the main goal, as well as Agnolia. Like, why did we get to this point? So, overall, anime, probably, to me, if I put in everything, maybe a 6 out of 10, most likely a 5 out of 10. Especially with the ongoing and the filler and all that. When I think anime, I'm thinking up to like 103 where Zeref shows up. That's probably a 5 or 6. Manga, probably a solid 5 until hopefully it gets better, which this arc may be. It rips off a lot of shonen. It rips off a lot of the magic. The friendship speeches are basically from every anime ever. So I don't know. It's not unique in premise, but I personally enjoy it. So I get that people will like what they like. There's nothing wrong with that, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise, I guess.